Breaking news tonight, President Trump unleashing the power of the pardon. The president freeing from prison Rod Blagojevich, the former Illinois governor, sentenced to 14 years for corruption. 10 others also receiving commuted sentences or pardons, among them the NYPD's former top cop and the junk bond king convicted of insider trading. Will he do the same for Roger Stone? Also tonight on the eve of our Democratic debate, for the first time, Michael Bloomberg qualifying to face off against his rivals on our stage. And our brand new poll, the billionaire surging, but can he catch Bernie Sanders? The fate of Harvey Weinstein now in the hands of the jury. The drama in the courtroom today, the warning the judge gave to Weinstein's attorney. The major changes for ring cams coming after families say they were terrorized by hackers.
I'm Santa Claus. Don't you want to be my best friend?
How the company says it will prevent these high-tech home invasions. Plus, authorities desperate to track down hundreds of Americans who left a cruise ship after one tested positive for coronavirus.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt, reporting tonight from Las Vegas.
Good evening from Las Vegas, where we learned today that Mike Bloomberg will join the Democratic debate stage for the first time here tomorrow night. We'll get to that shortly. But first, President Trump, who has complained lately about Justice Department sentencing decisions, much to the chagrin of his attorney general, asserted his powers in a big way today, commuting the prison sentence of former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich, who was serving 14 years for corruption. Blagojevich, one of several notable disgraced figures who received pardons or clemency from the president today. Our Peter Alexander has details.
President Trump tonight flexing his presidential muscle, releasing Rod Blagojevich from prison 4 years before the disgraced Illinois governor was expected to go free.
He'll be able to go back home with his family after serving 8 years in jail. That was a tremendously powerful, ridiculous sentence, in my opinion.
Blagojevich was convicted in 2011, caught on tape trying to sell Barack Obama's vacated Senate seat.
I've got this thing, and it's golden, and I'm just not giving it up for nothing.
And was also a former contestant on Celebrity Apprentice.
I have great respect for your tenacity, for the fact that you just don't give up. But Rod, you're fired.
Good morning, Mr. Milken.
Also pardoned today, Michael Milken, the former Wall Street titan and so-called junk bond king, who became the face of insider trading in the 1980s.
He suffered greatly. He paid a big price, paid a very tough price. But he's done an incredible job.
One of Milken's biggest advocates throwing the president a $580,000 per couple dinner last weekend. Among those granted clemency today, former New York City Police Commissioner Bernie Kerik, convicted of tax fraud and lying to the government. And Eddie DeBartolo Jr., the former San Francisco 49ers owner, who pleaded guilty following his failure to report a bribe in a gambling fraud scandal. Several former NFL greats today celebrating his pardon.
You know, I take my hat off to Donald Trump for what he did.
All of it coming just 2 days before the president's friend Roger Stone is set to be sentenced, amid fierce criticism of President Trump for intervening in Justice Department criminal cases. The president tonight acknowledging Attorney General William Barr's complaint that he's making it impossible for him to do his job.
I do make his job harder. I do agree with that. I think that's true. He's a very straight shooter.
But on Stone, he insists, so far, no decision.
I haven't given it any thought, but I think he's been treated very unfairly.
The message from the president today is clear, his allies tell me. Regardless the sentence, President Trump can do whatever he likes, whenever he likes, to erase anyone's criminal record or to set them free. Lester?
All right, Peter Alexander, thank you. Here in Las Vegas, the stakes just got higher for our Democratic debate tomorrow night, with billionaire and former New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg now qualifying. And our new poll tonight showing us where the race stands. Let's get more from NBC's Kristen Welker.
Tomorrow night in Las Vegas, Michael Bloomberg hoping the odds will be in his favor as he makes his debate debut after qualifying by surging in recent polls, including our new NBC News Wall Street Journal poll, which shows Senator Bernie Sanders now the sole Democratic frontrunner nationwide at 27%, Joe Biden second at 15%, Bloomberg now in third place, tied with Senator Elizabeth Warren at 14%, followed by former South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg and and Senator Amy Klobuchar. Democratic candidates have been blasting Bloomberg for spending a stunning $381 million of his own money on ads to boost his poll numbers and the controversial past NYPD police tactic of stop and frisk, for which he recently apologized.
You're not going to buy this election. We say to Mr. Bloomberg, you are certainly not going to win when you have a record in New York City that included racist policies like stop and frisk.
Buttigieg saying Bloomberg will face tough questions. What specifically do you think Michael Bloomberg has to answer for on the debate stage?
Well, I think he has to answer for his treatment of others, for his language, and above all for an attitude that seems to have dismissed the humanity of a lot of people.
Our poll also shows 5 Democratic candidates beating President Trump head to head, but the president's approval rating has climbed to 47%, tied for his highest ever in our poll. And tonight, Lester, we're also tracking this war of words over Twitter between Bloomberg and President Trump, with Mr. Trump accusing Bloomberg of illegally buying the nomination. Bloomberg capping it off, saying, see you in November, all as Bloomberg prepares to take on his Democratic rivals right here tomorrow night, Lester.
They're going to have a lot to talk about. Kristen, thank you very much. I'll be among the moderators for tomorrow night's debate here in Las Vegas at 9 Eastern here on NBC. In New York, jury deliberations are underway in the trial of Harvey Weinstein as the sexual assault case against the Hollywood producer heads towards a dramatic conclusion. Gabe Gutierrez is at the courthouse.
Are you ready for the verdict? Tonight, Harvey Weinstein's future is in the hands of a jury made up of 7 men and 5 women. The day began with prosecutors accusing lead defense attorney Donna Rotuno of jury tampering for writing a magazine op-ed proclaiming her client's innocence. The judge ordered Rotuno not to speak to the media again, saying, I would caution you about the tentacles of your public relations juggernaut. The 4-week trial had little physical evidence, and today the judge told jurors you will have to decide the credibility and the believability of the witnesses. Weinstein has pleaded not guilty to 5 felony counts of sexual assault, including rape.
He held me down on the bed. I tried to get away.
The charges focus on the allegations of Mimi Haley, who testified Weinstein forced oral sex on her in 2006 at his apartment, and Jessica Mann, who told the jury Weinstein raped her in a Manhattan hotel room in 2013. Their testimony was bolstered by 4 other women, including Sopranos actress Annabella Sciorra. Prosecutors are using Sciorra's rape accusation outside the statute of limitations to support the most serious charges of predatory sexual assault. The charges jurors had questions about just 40 minutes into deliberations. Weinstein's defense team argued the relationships were consensual and presented emails showing Haley and Mann communicated and had sexual encounters with Weinstein after the alleged assaults.
Now Harvey is worried.
Lauren Sivan is not part of the criminal trial, but one of more than 100 women who have accused Weinstein of sexual misconduct.
As much as we would absolutely love to see a guilty verdict, and we are hoping for a guilty verdict, I think all of us are bracing ourselves that might not be the outcome.
If Weinstein is convicted of the most serious charges, he could get up to life in prison. Even if he's acquitted here in New York, he faces separate felony charges in Los Angeles. Lester?
All right, Gabe, thank you. Now to the coronavirus. Officials in Cambodia scrambling to track down hundreds of Americans who may have been exposed to the virus after a passenger on a cruise ship there tested positive. Here's Miguel Almaguer.
Tonight, confusion in Cambodia, days after an American disembarked from this cruise ship, then tested positive for the coronavirus, triggering alarm for thousands of passengers and crew that may have been exposed. Frank King, who's been tested and has no symptoms, is already back in the States.
I had to break out of the hotel. I had to go past security. They tried to stop me.
260 Americans are in Cambodian hotels, while 92 others remain on board the Westerdam, all told to self-quarantine again. With China now restricting the movements of 760 million people, more than double the entire U.S. population, one of Wuhan's top doctors died after contracting the virus.
It was a nightmare.
The Moleskis, who arrived back in the U.S., are worried after flying with other passengers who tested positive.
Even though they were enclosed, there was nothing on top. There was nothing filtering the air.
With evacuees beginning a new 14-day quarantine, hundreds like Yin Jun Wei and her children just finished theirs today.
I'm really exhausted of everything now at this point.
The virus, not just a health scare. Apple stock down today after the company warned about iPhone supply issues, as other major companies like HSBC, Starbucks, and McDonald's brace for economic impacts. Tonight, the virus, a deadly double threat.
With a wave of Americans arriving here at Travis Air Force Base to begin their quarantine, nearly 180 other U.S. citizens are now free to go home. It's unclear if any more charters will arrive here. The death toll in China, Lester, now tops 2,000.
All right, Miguel Almaguer in California tonight. Thank you. We'll be right back in 60 seconds with new revelations about the murder of a 6-year-old girl, the neighbor connected to the crime, and new measures to protect your home security cameras from hackers. Chilling new details tonight about the 6-year-old South Carolina girl who authorities now say was abducted and killed by a neighbor who then killed himself. Here's Morgan Chesky.
Tonight, the city of Casey, South Carolina, mourning the loss of a little girl named Faye.
We all became part of Faye's family.
A fun-loving 6-year-old with a silly side and a sweet tooth. The vigil just hours after authorities released new details about her tragic disappearance.
Faye's death was a homicide and took place within only a few hours after she was abducted.
Faye disappeared last Monday, playing outside after school. Detectives didn't find her till Thursday. Shadowing garbage trucks, police say they found 2 clues in a trash can belonging to her neighbor.
One was a child's polka dot boot, and the second was a soup ladle that had freshly dug dirt in it.
Within minutes of those discoveries, the chief found Faye's body in a nearby wooded area. The cause of death, asphyxiation. Shortly after, police returned to that neighbor Cody Scott Taylor's home, where they found him dead in his backyard. Law enforcement officials say the 30-year-old with no criminal history took his own life. Less than 24 hours earlier, officers say they actually questioned Taylor and even searched his home, but found nothing suspicious.
Faye will never be forgotten.
A bright legacy amidst incredible loss. Morgan Chesky, NBC News.
Tell you now about a new storm on the move in the south, threatening to bring even more devastation to a region reeling from a historic flood disaster. NBC's Blaine Alexander is there.
Tonight, along the flooded Pearl River in Marion County, desperate measures to protect homes as residents brace for more rain. In Jackson, officials are on standby.
So it's possible that this could just be round one.
Very possible.
Updating evacuated residents desperate for news.
So she may have a couple inches of water.
Many still waiting.
I had to leave all my belongings.
And officials with an urgent warning, stay out of the water. A big danger, manhole covers moved by swift currents.
There are channels under that manhole cover that'll just suck you in.
And there's no coming back from that.
No coming back.
Along parts of the south, more than 130 rivers and streams are at flood stage.
We're probably down a foot.
Just since yesterday.
Just since yesterday.
But as the water recedes, the rain returns.
And while many homes remain underwater, parts of Mississippi remain under flash flood watch with as many as 2 inches of rain possible over the next few days. Lester?
All right, Blaine, thank you. The Boy Scouts of America facing a crisis tonight. The 110-year-old organization filing for bankruptcy as it faces a wave of sexual abuse lawsuits. Here's NBC's Ron Allen.
Tonight, an American institution in turmoil. The Boy Scouts of America filing for bankruptcy amid hundreds of lawsuits alleging sexual abuse, many of them claiming the organization knew there was a problem as far back as the 1920s. Thousands of men have come forward.
Still feels really raw.
I never felt comfortable with myself.
I live with this daily.
I never knew how to deal with this.
Jeff Williams was just 9 years old when he says he was molested by a scout leader in Cincinnati.
I want my childhood back. I want my adulthood back.
Williams is not part of a current lawsuit because his alleged abuse happened nearly 4 decades ago. Lawmakers in 40 states and Washington, D.C. have been working to change the statute of limitations on these cases because experts say it can take decades for those dealing with trauma to come forward. Only the national organization is filing for bankruptcy. Boy Scouts of America says it plans to use the Chapter 11 process to create a victims' compensation trust for survivors.
In many respects, it will facilitate justice for victims.
and there will be a process by which individuals can submit their claims. They'll be reviewed, and we believe that there will be compensation paid.
The national chair of the Boy Scouts says he is devastated that there were times in the past when we failed the very children we were supposed to protect. The organization has also said it never knowingly allowed a sexual predator to work with its members and has new rules that make scouting safer now than ever before. Ron Allen, NBC News, New York.
Up next, the new measures to protect your home security cameras from hackers. There's important news for the millions of people with Ring home security cameras. Our Gotti Schwartz on the new security protections.
I'm your best friend.
It was an unforgettable intrusion.
I'm Santa Claus.
A chilling voice terrorizing an 8-year-old through a home security camera.
It was, from a horror film. And, I just thought this couldn't be real.
What you watching?
But it was real for families across the country.
What's going on, buddy?
Tonight, the Amazon company Ring announcing sweeping security changes to prevent hackers from taking over cameras and spying on families like the Amadors.
I did hear from the other room someone shouting, pay 50 Bitcoin or you'll be terminated.
Now, starting today, Ring is now rolling out two-factor authentication, which means that if you want to log into your account, you'll need your password and a special code that is sent to your phone or your email and is constantly changing.
They should have had this kind of security out of the box so users were not open to this kind of attack.
Ring also announcing users can now opt out of sharing their information to third parties, which includes advertisers, saying in a statement, delivering you privacy, security, and control are foundational to achieving our mission, and the company letting users know if Ring is working in partnership with law enforcement in their area, allowing for the ability to opt out of sharing video with police. Now the security giant hoping to win back trust among consumers looking to protect themselves from strangers invading their homes. Gotti Schwartz, NBC News, Los Angeles.
Up next, how she made it to the Major League and is inspiring America. Finally tonight, the trailblazing coach who has become a game changer for baseball. Here's Katie Beck.
Major League Baseball for Rachel Balkovec was a field of dreams, just not coming true.
Nice job. I applied for a bunch of jobs and just got crickets, nothing back.
The strength coach wondered if her hurdle was her gender, so she changed the name on her resume from Rachel to Ray. The calls came, but offers didn't.
He just said, I'm really sorry. I really would like to hire you, but our administration said that we're not going to hire a woman.
But she kept her eye on the professional ball, breaking through in the minor leagues with the St. Louis Cardinals, later the Astros, plus earning 2 Masters.
It's an advantage that I was discriminated against because I had to work harder.
Now Balkovec making history, becoming one of the first women hired by a major league team to work as a full-time hitting coach in the minors.
Nice job.
You spend an hour with Rachel. You understand her value.
This season, she's one of 3 female hires in the MLB, and Balkovec says there are more ceilings to be cracked.
Just do that.
It feels like this is your dream job, is it?
It's my dream to be able to empower people. And so, yeah. Baseball is the vehicle for empowering other people.
A dream job in a more inclusive playing field. Katie Beck, NBC News, Tampa, Florida.
A big hit for the sport. That's Nightly News from Las Vegas. I'm Lester Holt. Thank you for watching and good night. Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.